Let me show you what I did today. We've got a lever here. Push that. Ooh. The whole blade tilts forwards. I've turned the game down and I've got the headset available on the seats, so it's going to be even quieter. Hopefully there's just like no noisy jet sound. I didn't put the fuel tanks in. I took the fuel tanks out. So the idea is that you like level out and then you push this up and the whole rotor tilts forwards, and that lets you fly more level and have a higher speed. I think it's still going really slow though. And then I also connected this lever. The engine throttle connects to the target, the set point on the PID. I didn't want to make it go too much faster because when I push it up to 30, when it's at 30 it gets a bit wobbly, like this. You can see it's starting to wobble a bit. Oh, I've never seen this before. So maybe it won't work. I'm still goofing around with it, I suppose. I could push it up one more, the height of the blades. Because it's on a pivot, if it starts oscillating, then it might bend that whole thing down, and that might be what's impacted on the helicopter, on the body. It doesn't need to do this. I just thought it was interesting to try it. And actually, to get it to work, I had to change the way the engines are built, so it pokes out on the sides here, and then pokes back in. And then I've gone for these nozzles. They're not connected to anything, they're just for looks, and they just tilt out a little bit. And I got rid of the fuel tank, which I think all of this back here is going to be fuel tank from like here maybe? Custom fuel tank? And then it's somewhere down low. I could also put it in the front. I've run fuel tanks in the front before and that worked okay. But I think we need to get the rear landing wheel. This landing gear needs to go up somehow. I could try bringing this piece back further so it's like it's fatter back here. And just have it like straighten out across here like that. So that doesn't really change the profile. And from the top, like I don't think you'd really notice. You might notice, but you probably wouldn't. And then it means I've got a wider spot back here. And then I can maybe put a pivot up here. This can pivot up. I think in Metal Gear Solid it's got two pivots. So it's kind of like this system here. There's like a bigger front one and then a smaller rear one. And wait a minute. Yeah, so there's a big one on the front which is connected to the wheel, and then there's a smaller one on the back which opens up, like this section here would pivot down, and then this whole thing would pivot down. I might have to do that. Oh, oh no. Oh yeah, I can get rid of that though. I can make that invisible. See, I need to run a wedge across like that. And then probably do... I can get away with this, I think. Do a 1x4 wedge. And then a 1x4 pyramid and then a 1x4 wedge. And then up in here, you just need to cover up those two bits. Maybe this whole rear section here can just pivot down. So like from there, if I connect this, I might have to start this one down, and then I'll just build it here, and then I'll see if it needs to come down. I think it's split on the one in Metal Gear Solid so that the wheel can be like beyond the edge of this shield thing. Yeah, it would need to be down really far. So I don't even know if you would want to put these inverted pyramids on there. That's kind of what it does. You know, I've never seen one of these wheels XML'd. What is this? What is going on? So I don't think this is a good idea. So this would come up and definitely interfere with what's going on in the back. Oh, what? What? That's pretty good. I didn't think it would be that good. It's just like, I think it's just this very end wedge piece. Also, it would be great if there was like no shadow on this side, because this is the side I'm working on. So I get rid of that. I might have to get rid of that piece there as well. And normally I think it would be down like this, which means like none of the wheel is even touching the ground. But it hides so well. Yeah, more of the wheel needs to be touching. So what if I make this a, I was going to say, what if I make it a 1x2 wedge, but then it loses this kind of length that you need on it. So I guess I lose the top section of it then. Grab the whole thing, shorten it up. It's like that, maybe. That might work. And then I would have to have a wedge that can come in the bottom of it. Yeah, it's rolling. It's pretty good. It's very low. Very, very low. And then when you're going to go up, and then there'd be another piece that comes in along here, and it would have to go flat and then suddenly up. I think I need to pull the tail out a little bit more. I don't like having to alter proportions too much when doing this, but it does seem somewhat necessary for this. Otherwise it goes like that. This pivot's going to have to be quite high up so that I can get the wall in place, because it's all wedges and stuff. I need it to be hidden in part of the wall. Don't know what that's going to do. But I'll connect it to the same lever and hopefully it'll just pivot down. I know it's like, it's kind of inside out at the moment. Yeah, it's what have I done? I've done it wrong. It should be like 40 and 1. Minimum should be 0.4 and maximum should be 1. Ooh. Yeah, because the pivot point's in such a weird place. I don't think it's gonna work. It's like it needs to go up. It needs to go up 2 blocks, but then it's cutting into here. I need a better solution. Yep. Yep. Hold on, I'm gonna do what everyone else does. Maybe it just needs to go back another 1x4, but it's gonna get screwy. Yeah, like if it just kept going back, and then I have to do some kind of weird conversion here. That's not too bad. And then this piece here needs to like pivot down. No, that's not right. So it's like the pivot needs to come down. I should just get another lever because it's gonna... If I copy paste this lever, then that will give me the same values. And then I can go to that one, and then I can try and close them at different intervals and see if that's going to help. Because you want to close the wheel. What you'd do, the landing wheel would go up, and then this would go up after it. It's like it needs to go across two more. 1, 2. And yeah, we're starting to lose blocks. It needs to go... What is going on here? It needs to go forwards 1, but then if I push it forwards 1, the bottom of this rear section is going to clip into where the wheel is. So that red section is what I'm thinking needs to come out. Here is another idea. So wheel goes up. Okay. Not a happy chappy. Wait, what's going on? That's actually pretty good. But then you lose a piece at the back here, so maybe I can do... Maybe I can... So it's like a 1x4, but that whole section is pivoting around like an off-center axis. Oh, it does it. See, that only needs to come down a tiny little bit as well, just enough to clear, and then it would go back. And then you would seal up in here. It would open, this would go up, and then it would all close. So if I can get a piece to cover this, we've got a little bit of the wheel sticking out there. This is where maybe just extending this whole section at the tail is the right way to do it. Only by 1 block. And that lets me put a piece in there which will cover up... Why am I doing this? I've put the block in the wrong place, basically. The block needs to go in here. That's the block that's going to hide the wheel. So actually most of this can go back, I think. And then all this pivot section comes forwards by 1. Or I could just put... I still need to like get the bottom part of it covered up though, where this is. Do you think I can put in just this? Can I just get the inverse pyramid in there now anyway? Because it's like, it's all moved forwards 1. Like that's where the block on the wheel will go. Ah, god damn it. So that piece there might have to connect to the rear section. What if I'm going about this the wrong way? What if it doesn't need to pivot? It pivots in Metal Gear Solid, but, you know, we're dealing with some stupid limitations of a stupid game. What if I take this piece, the whole rear section? It might only be that much. I need to figure out how much it like fills in when it closes, you know? Does it fill in this much? Because it comes down. I can get rid of all of this, I reckon. This is now the rear. We're getting into the microcontroller now. Rear landing gear. Currently I have it set to 1, so I'm just going to say that it's 1. We have track and pivot. So when I press the landing gear, it'll go open up. This will go up, and then that will slide back. What is it doing? The wheel goes up to there. When this closes, oh, what? What was happening before? Maybe, I don't know. Beats me. I think if I do a wedge like this and then I do a wedge in the bottom, because wedges are quite heavy to clip. Slides back, goes up. Oh no. Oh no. It's so close. So close to working. Then that would close again. What if I drop the tire radius, 0.75? What if I drop it again? I think it's just interfering with the wheel. So if the wheel is smaller, but that's dumb. That means the whole wheel needs to like move away. Yeah. So if I pull the wheel backwards, even further backwards, then that's going to allow the sliding part to come back in because it's no longer going to be interfering with that. But do I then need to like cover it up or something? I think I'm going too far away from what it's supposed to be, what the idea is. The section here would need to be straight, or at least this bit would need to be. Oh, it looks very clunky though when it's down. It's like a robot foot with a wheel in the back. I'm surprised that I got the front of it to look so accurate and operate in basically the same way, but the tail just is not coming along. This is just going to be a whole episode of trying to make a real landing gear. I think I've got it. I think I've got it. The timing on this is going to be pretty difficult. I have to look at the other landing gear. Yeah, I used capacitors on the... I'm not sure what happens when I jam the button a bunch. Like if I push 1. So what happens to those flaps down below? It's not bad. It like solves itself in the end. I really like that because it doesn't move much, whereas this thing it's moving a lot and it only needs to move just come back. It's only got to move like 1 or 2 blocks, which means the track in here can be reduced. Also needs like a brake and stuff in there. Man, that's such a... It probably needs to move another one just so it doesn't look weird when it clips. I don't mind stuff clipping, but it's just like... It'd be nice if it didn't look like a weird kind of clipping. How does this work? So this piece is moving. I think it's only by 2. So I want it to be able to lock itself when it goes all the way back. So it goes back, this comes up, and then it goes forwards. I don't mind that that thing's really quick either. That's not a problem. And it only needs to lock when it's closed. So you push the button, then there's a capacitor that goes off. Why is that pivot so slow though? The pivot's only slow because it's on a lever that's set to being kind of slow. So we've got 0.4 min and start is 0.4, max is 1. Okay, so what will happen is you push the button and then the track will move immediately. And then after, you know, like, let's say 2 seconds, the pivot will move. Track and pivot. Get rid of those. So that button should control everything now. Oh, but it needs to... Ooh, it needs to like go out and then go back. So it needs a toggle state for the sliding bit needs a toggle. Needs a pulse. A pulse. And it needs to be always, I think. So when it goes... It needs a capacitor, right? It needs to pulse into its own capacitor. So this is how the front one is working as well, I think. And this means when you turn it on, it needs to go immediately, but when you turn it off, it needs to give the wheel some time to close up. And I need to switch the orientation. Oh, well. They all start down, so that's fine. The closing pulse needs more time. I probably also need to change this onto a counter because it's a slider track. It needs to know to reset to 0. I think that's a bit too long. Could be a bit shorter. Okay. I have it. I've done it. This was such a mission. Let's get rid of these support stand things. Save that. I've just XML'd the pivot that it was on. So I got rid of the head and then covered it up with this 1x3. So we should be on all landing gear. Oh, it's so low at the back. I don't know, maybe it could be a bit taller at the back. But I push this button. Look at that. I think it can come more, it can have a steeper angle, which will screw everything up, but it's probably for the best. So the way I wanted to do it with a counter was just not working. It was not having any of it. Oh, that's the wrong way. 0.6, 0.2. Yes. It looks a bit weak up there, but you know, what are you gonna do? I could probably put in some pipes and stuff and, you know, cover it in. So the closing mechanism needs to slow down a little bit, which will then mean the locking mechanism needs to slow down a little bit. So we'll go 1 and then 1.8. Yes! Yes! It's so good. Okay, so what happens? How does this work? So when I push 1, which will be my landing gear button, it's going to go into a capacitor with a 0.2 second charge, and that controls the switch box, whether or not the wheel, the pivot and the stick with the wheel on it is up. 1 is fully up, and 2 is mostly down. If it was 0, it would be totally vertical. And that's just controlling that, switching its amount on the pivot to go up and down the rotation value. At the same time, there is always a pulse, and the pulse that comes out, so either you turn the button off or you turn the button on, it sends a pulse, which goes into this first capacitor for a discharge of 1 second, And that gives it time for the track to move back and forwards completely the whole way. After it's moved the whole way, so after 1 second, then at 1.8 seconds, the brake will engage on the gripper, so it won't let that door move in or out, and the value on this track slider will go to 0 from this off value. And so the track will be locked in place and it won't be draining electricity. Oh, well, it's a bit of a crazy way to do it, but it is good. And then, so what I should do now is take all the landing gear. I think it's this one here. This one was quite a bit more simple, really, because this is like just 2 pivots working, 2 sets of pivots that have a couple of capacitors in them. So that's 3. If I make it 6, no, it needs to be quite a bit more than that. We'll go an 8, 2x4, and this will have all the landing gear logic in it. This is 4. It'd be so good if you could just merge microcontrollers. If you could just put them next to each other and go merge. I might actually be able to make it a bit smaller. I've got rear landing gear pivot. I can make it a bit smaller. Slider, number, output. And then rear landing gear brake output. Because the first button will be the composite for the landing gear panel. And then we have front landing gear wheel rotation. So this is the rotation part with the wheel on it. Yeah, okay. It all makes sense. So yeah, I can bring it down. I gotta stop doing this. I gotta start like hooking everything up before I start removing things. But I think hopefully it's just that simple. I hope, please be that simple. Brakes was on this one, landing gear pivot was on that one, and tracks is on that. That's all quite straightforward. I don't think there's too much complicated stuff in there. Gear pivot, slider, brake. And then this will go into my button here. So what have I got? This button did, the arrow was the landing gear, which I have on 2 because it'll go 1, 2. So the flip switch will be 1. The status will be 1, be 4. I'm going to try and keep this panel on its own system. And then I can get rid of that, save. That should work. That should all work. So now I've got to actually take off and make sure it works in the air. I can make it say retract landing gear, and that way when it's off, you know that they're down, perhaps. It'd be good if you could change the off and on status, eh? You could say retracted or deployed. Oh, it's a pulse, it's a push. And it's not working. Why is it not working? None, 4, landing gear brakes, 1. Oh, it's on the wrong channel. And that should be toggle. It should be 2. Push the button. We're on. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. This has taken so long. It's going to be a shorter episode for sure. It's really good because you can't, I was going to say you can't see it, but there's obviously this little bit of a pivot there. I might be able to stretch a block into that though. And we want to land. Push the button. Yes! Tilt this forwards as well. This is most likely going to get removed. It does weird stuff like this. It tries to tilt it back. I guess because it's stationary, it wants to like level itself out. If it's moving and it did that, that'd be good. Oh man. That took way too long. So many shenanigans going on back here just to make this work. But it is beautiful. I love it. It's so good. Okay, now I wonder about lights. Lights. If you were a helicopter, where would your lights be? Right then, good thing I have pictures of this. Get some RGB lights. On the tail, it's at the very tip, but it's like pointing that way. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. It's gonna go there. That is a white light. Then the other two, the side markers, they're just above the wheels. Just above here. And towards the back of the window. Kind of in this spot and the spot here. They're actually not that prominent, so I don't know if I do them big lights like this, or if I try and stretch a block over it. Oh, it's got lights on the bottom as well. There's a light on the bottom, sort of behind the wheels, like here, behind the cover. And I think there might be one further back as well, but I can't really see. And those two are red lights that flash. So those flash. This one here is a blue light, and this one is a red light. So to help me remember all this, we'll go red, blue, red, red. They're all like the navigation lights. Where would I put lights in here? I guess this panel is a light panel, isn't it? So maybe instrument 2. I kind of want to flip this up the other way though if I'm going to be putting lights in here. Navigation lights. And then the flip switch could be flick it down kind of flip switch. I don't necessarily mind where the switches actually are on here. So if the other one was a flip switch, I'm okay with that. But then I think the pilot light is wrong. No, it's right. Okay. So this is 2, 1, 4, 3. Yep. Now that's all just microcontroller nonsense. So I've got 2 lights on the bottom, but they're on the same output, I think. Unless they flash like in a series, if it's like blink, 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 like the front, back. I don't think they would blink at the same time. Okay, so it looks like the 2 bottom lights flash at the same time, and then the ones on the side are constant, and the one on the back is separate anyway. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 lights, 1 switch. I'm trying to figure out if I can put all those lights on the same panel. Got the lights panel. Oh, you know, I probably need a switch for like backlights. Or like a backlight switch. Yeah. There's no indicators or gauges or anything on this panel, so it can just be all for the lights. So we'll say this is white tail light, red navigation light, blue navigation light, red flashing lights. I don't know what else they're supposed to be. Pilot light, co-pilot light. And then this one will be the only red one really, and it will be dash backlights. Yeah, that's fine. So let's set up the composite switch box I need for this. Tail light H, tail light S, and tail light V. Did I do them all the same? I did, okay. To get if you want to convert your HSV values, hue is between 360 and you need to convert it down to a number between 0 and 1. So we take X and we divide it by 360. And then S and V are both 100. You can either have 100% or somewhere in between 100 and 0%. And then we need to write these three numbers. On. And then we take this one here, and this is what turns the light on. So I think we'll have to look at the panel here quickly. Oops. Whoopsie-doo. Nav lights, flip switch. This must be, no, this must be a flip switch. Pilot light, arrow button. So navigation lights is on channel 4, and then co-pilot light is 1 and pilot light is 2. Oh, and then dash backlight will be 3. So all of my navigation lights are going to go on all at the same time. So I'm basically taking this thing and I'm copying it 4 times. And then all these property numbers, I'm going to change what they say. So this will be like red navigation, red navigation light. And then I do the same here. I've got blue navigation light. And then the last one will be for the red flashing lights. So the way I've done it is very much like an overcomplicated way. But what it means is that from this on off input here, I can control all of them separately because I'm going to need a blinker on this bottom one. And I think they just blink on and off. Blink on maybe for, they just blink, whoop, and then they're off for a while. So it lets me control all the logic for each light. And then it also lets me like save this microcontroller, and then I have all these numbers. So I don't even have to go into the microcontroller. I can just look up whatever color I want on a color picker, and I can say, okay, for the tail light, which is going to be white, you want a hue of anything really. It could be whatever, because the saturation is what determines whether or not that's like white or all of the color. So 100, 0 and 100 would be red, but 0 and 0, 0 hue and 0 saturation would be white. And then with a value of 100, it's like it's a bright white. If I want a red light, I can leave it at 0, but if I give it 100% saturation, it's going to be very red. And then the value is like, how bright is that? It's going to be a very bright red. Blue, I think, is somewhere like 193 hue. And then same thing, if you want it to be a bright, vibrant blue, it'll be 100. That can be 0 and 100 for those flashing lights. So 2 flashing lights on the bottom. Then the co-pilot light is this one up behind the co-pilot. The pilot light is the one up behind the pilot. The blue is on the right and the red is on the left. And then the white tail light up the back. The lights panel is this one in the middle. And then we have the backlights, which right now I guess only the keypad has any kind of backlight on it. So let's see, navigation lights. We've got blue, we've got blinking red lights at the bottom, we've got red on this side, and we've got a white light up the back. That's pretty cool. And then we've got landing gear, pretty easy to get to. And we're off. I'm having a lot of fun with this helicopter. I hope you're enjoying it as well. I'm not quite sure what I need to do next on this, but maybe I can start putting some weapon systems on it. I get some rockets, maybe some machine guns. So, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.